Well, welcome back to episode 3 of Brothers from the 818. We are super excited at our turnout so far. Our first episode did fairly well. Second episode did a lot better. And that actually prompted people to go back to the first episode. So we're super excited about what's going on. As always, I'm David. I'm here with my main man, 50 Grand, for the last 37 years. Man, we've been best friends for almost 40 years. I was thinking about that the other day. What's going on, Caleb? How you doing, man?
40 years mean that we're plenty old, man. That means we're plenty old. I'm doing good, man. Thank you for asking. Feliz Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, same to you. Same to you. We'll get into it. I want to talk about Cinco de Mayo menus at some point before we get too far into the game. But Feliz Cinco de Mayo to you in my best Espanol. So that's good. That's cool.
How was your week?
Week was good, man. It's I've been waking up each morning wondering what day it is. That tells you how busy it's been. But it's been good. It was a busy week last week, a lot of ups, and I think you only go so high before you come back down. But I got a new saying today, and I'm pretty happy about it. It makes me seem cocky, but most people who know me don't have a problem with that about me. I talked to my niece today, and she said, how you doing? You hanging in there? I said, I don't hang, I provide the string. Right. And I was just like, and I don't even know where I got that from. It was just like, and it was just my way of saying that I'm not hanging in there. I'm thriving, and not from any point of bragging. I think you're thriving. I think most people who look at the negative in front of them forgot all the successes behind them, and they don't realize how well they're actually doing. And so I just said, I don't hang, I provide the string. And she was just like, where'd that come from? I was like, I don't even know, but I'm going to use it. It's going to come out again, and people are going to hear about that. So it's been good. How about you? How was your week, man?
Week was great. Since we last spoke, I celebrated 10 years of marriage. With my wife. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Somebody put up with you for 10 years. You got one on me. I ain't had that happen yet. So congratulations, man.
We celebrated. We were isolated. We have plans to do something bigger and better once we all come out of our self-quarantine. Other than that, I spoke to my daughter. I spoke to your son. And
what? I think he actually answered the phone?
He turned 24, and I'm really excited that maybe one day we'll be able to get them both on the podcast.
I think that would be good. I think they have enough differences, but they're enough like us to make it interesting. I can even see, bringing them up and letting them host one day and just say, hey, we're stepping in for our dads. Let's see what's up.
That'd be interesting.
The worst part is they're at that age group, and they probably get 3 or 4 times the viewers that we do.
Right, because they have 3 times as many friends and likes on all their social media.
Exactly. Remember when we were social back in the day, we actually had to go up to somebody.
Right.
I remember spending the night at your house, everybody on the block. And we would sit on the couches, remember those couches in the living room, night, and just talk trash.
Yeah.
I remember somebody said something about mama being so dumb, you sit on the TV and watch the couch. I don't know why that came up.
Yes. That's one of the clean jokes.
I kept it clean. So
I remember John, Big Bus, he used to throw some inappropriate jokes that still today.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, man, it's good to holler at you. We can do this all night long. Brothers from the 818 is really just a clip into 37 years of conversation. We've had so many conversations where we're like, man, this could really go somewhere if somebody else was listening or if we had recorded it or whatever. And so we're taking that opportunity. I think, I've talked to you at least an hour every week for the last 3 weeks. I don't think I could say that for the last 20 years, that we've actually had an hour every week where we could really sit and talk. So this is good, man, to hang and fellowship with you and just check in and see what's up. So I'm happy to be doing this with you.
Yes, likewise.
We got a special guest tonight. I'm gonna be quiet. I would like you to introduce our special guest tonight, if you don't mind. So take it away, man. Talk about our special guest. Let her talk about herself, but you can introduce her.
Well, ma'am, if you wouldn't mind, I would like for you to introduce yourself to our audience from the 818 and beyond.
And beyond.
All right. Okay. Well, it's nice to see everybody, and I'm honored to be here. I'm Shauna. I am Caleb's wife and David's marriage. Caleb and I just celebrated 10 years of wedded bliss, and we have 3 children together, a 27-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. I'm also a physician assistant. I work in Southern California in emergency medicine and urgent care. And I'm just honored to be here. It's great to be on this podcast.
You know, for anybody watching, anybody listening, both Caleb and Shauna are military. And I make sure I catch them on Memorial Day, but, you know, we're honored just to have them for their service. They serve a purpose that a lot of us couldn't do, wouldn't do, yours truly for sure. And I'm honored by that. But even more importantly, Shauna, you are on the front line in the healthcare industry. And that's just that's a powerful place to be right now. And I recognize the sacrifice and the value. And I just want everybody who's watching or listening to know that we honor you on this day and any day that is to come for the service you provide. So much appreciated and thank you. I don't wear hats, but actually I got one right here. Hold up. Here's one. My hat's off to you, girl.
Unless it's a Raiders hat, then you can keep that.
Hey, it's all day. I'm gonna edit that out just so you know.
Okay.
Leave it in.
See the background. You know, I got stuff in the background just so you know. Anyway, go ahead, Shauna. Tell us just how you doing. What's going on in your life?
So yeah, it's been a good week.
Good.
I work part-time, so I spend 50% of my time working at home with the little ones and 50% of my time working in a clinic or hospital. But I have to tell you, it's more challenging being at home with 2 little ones than it is in full PPE and full gear treating patients that potentially have COVID.
Right.
Yeah. And so my heart goes out to the educators, and I have a greater, deeper appreciation for them and what they do on a day-to-day basis.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see them on the front line. Definitely.
Right.
So, Shauna, Caleb and I, and you know, pretty much the rest of America, we experienced COVID-19 from the news, from social media, from the rumors and the podcasts like we're doing. We see it from the outside. I know Caleb has talked about on a number of occasions that he gets to see a partial inside view because he gets to interact with you on a daily basis. But this is our first time where we're getting to talk to someone who sees it from the inside. So how are you feeling now versus where you were maybe 7 weeks ago versus where you feel we're going? How do you see COVID-19 affecting you as an individual or the country, or however you want to answer it?
Yeah, so let me bring you back to early March, before any quarantine or anything like that. I had a close friend of mine ask me, so what do you think about this COVID virus? Why are they making such a big deal about it in the news? And at that time, it was still limited to China and a few cases in the United States. And even me as a medical professional, and I keep up with daily journals. I get daily emails about the latest studies released, the latest trends that they find about anything. So whatever is new and published, I get an email, I check, I stay up to date with that stuff. And I said, I really don't know why they're making such a big deal about it. It sounds like a flu. It sounds like, just a slightly rougher version of the flu. Not a lot of people are going to get it. The elderly are exposed. I'm still going to continue to fly. I'm still going to continue to keep doing things the way that I've been doing it. And, now fast forward 8+ weeks from that conversation with her, the world has been turned, almost upside down. And that's because I think that we just did not have enough information as a medical community. When this virus was out in China, it was the Chinese virus. Then it spread to Europe, and it was like, it's not going to make its ways to American shore. I don't know why, but a lot of information just was not put out there for us to be proactive and reacting to it. And so I'm a little bit disappointed in the medical community at large that we weren't more prepared and didn't have more information going into it, myself included. But there was no more information to be had early on. Yeah.
It's an honest answer. I appreciate that, and I think a lot of us see it, or we saw it as it's just a flu. A lot of us, we were talking about this last week, Caleb. It ain't gonna happen to me. Yeah, it's a big deal, but it's not gonna happen to me. What's the chances of me getting infected, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I find it interesting that the general response from the public. I still don't know if they're taking it as seriously as they should, honestly, and that's just my true answer. But that's someone who I do what I can to avoid the news. I don't get involved in. I stay up to date because I don't want to be in the dark. But I stay up to date enough to just have a brief or a good enough understanding of what's going on without spending, 23 minutes out of every hour looking on social media or watching the news trying to figure out what's happening with COVID-19. One of the things that I've said is life's going to be different, but we will have life. So,
I in our community, I was surprised. When people are protesting in Tennessee and Georgia, going to the Capitol building with shotguns and rifles, I'm like, okay, that's Tennessee and Georgia. That's what they're supposed to be doing in West Virginia, right? But I was driving down the street in my community, and I saw people out there protesting, open up the city, and so some of it was valid. Okay, well, I'm ready for the city to be open as well. But one of the young ladies that was holding a sign said, "My wedding is essential," and I was like, I don't know if it's worth opening up the city for weddings and stuff. I don't know how essential that is, especially when I'm seeing people doing virtual weddings and stuff. I know that, people wait their entire life to have their dream weddings. People wait their entire life to travel to, I don't know, Hawaii or to Italy. But people haven't taken it as serious as I think they should. And we continue to go back to some of those reasons. And I continue to land on, it's probably because people are fearful of how they're going to provide for their families. Some people are just ignorant as to how serious this virus is. And they're getting their information from one source or the other source, and they're being swayed by what they're consuming. And so, COVID-19 it's not going away, and it'll probably be here next year. We'll probably be talking about it or dealing with it in some form or fashion.
You brought up an excellent point, Caleb. You said COVID-19 isn't going away. So back to you, Shauna. I see this like a sine wave, just like the flu happens all year and people get infected by the flu. And then there's a season, and it's generally because of weather or because of allergies and so forth, where people are out there getting flu shots because this is that flu season. Mm-hmm. Are we entering a new world where we're going to have a COVID season?
I hope.
Do you see us going that direction?
It is my hope that COVID-19 will be eliminated and that we're not dealing with it 3 years from now. But this coming fall and winter, we can expect that we're going to be dealing with a really bad season because we're still going to have the flu season. That's not going anywhere. And we're still going to be dealing with COVID-19 on top of it. And hopefully by then we will have some more protective measures in place so that people aren't getting infected. But we won't have a vaccine come fall and winter this year. So we're going to be dealing with two very bad viruses. And there's a lot of plans in the works right now. I know in a lot of medical communities, a lot of hospital systems for how we're going to deal with cold and COVID-19 because there's so much overlap. And this disease, we're also learning new things about it every day. Just last week, they changed the category to not just respiratory disease, but a thromboembolic disease, which means that it affects the blood and the blood clotting and how that functions in our body. So we're learning about COVID-19 as we go along day by day. The information is changing. So
interesting. You mentioned something that I really wanted to ask about. Oh, so yeah, we're still going to have a flu season. And as you said, we won't have a vaccine. We will, again, you're giving us your best thoughts, and we appreciate that. We will likely not have a vaccine by that time. For those who would be interested in getting flu shots, because that's what they do, right? Do you still suggest they get a flu shot when that time comes? Because again, a flu shot, in my understanding, is you injecting a little bit of the flu into your body to help fight the virus. Do we want that type of environment in our bodies when COVID-19 is circulating as well?
yeah, you absolutely want to protect yourself against the flu.
Okay.
Last year, the flu vaccine was probably 55 to 60% effective, right? So that means it protected about 60% of the population from contracting the flu or serious signs of the flu. You don't want to be unprotected from both the flu and COVID-19. We can't protect you from COVID-19 really, because as far as we know, there won't be a vaccine in September when the flu vaccine comes out. But
Okay.
you do want to be protected against the flu, because if you can avoid getting the flu, at least that limits your chances, because you can get both. They've seen that some patients, it's a small amount, have come in testing positive for both influenza and COVID-19. And so at least protect yourself from getting the flu. And if you get COVID, we can deal with that.
Okay. Well, let me ask.
Hey, I got a question. You threw out a statistic. How did they come up with that statistic?
Yeah, they look at the flu virus that populates in Australia and New Zealand at this time of the year, right? When it's summer for us. And they look and they try and formulate the 4 common strains of flu that went around and protect us against that. Is right. That's not always the virus that comes to North America and Europe. And so they're just looking at that data. Last year, it protected about 60% based on the information that they had.
So there's a large percentage of the population who refuses to get flu shots. Last flu shot I got was 1999, so last time I got the flu. And, I almost died then. Literally almost died. And I was like, I'm never getting a flu shot again, and I haven't. My kids get them, and, that's just kind of their routine. I don't have a problem with immunizations. I don't have a problem with shots, but that flu shot almost killed me. And that's not fair to say, but when I got the flu shot, it's the worst I've ever felt in my life. So for someone like that, or someone like me, would you say this is your year to change your mind more so than you would say that anyway? Or is it just, no, you actually do need that extra level because you just don't want to come down to it with it?
So one thing I'd like to say is that from 1999 to now, the flu vaccine has changed some 16 times over. Okay. So the strains that they're vaccinating with, and also the additives in that vaccine has also changed. So you may have had a reaction to something that was in the old formulation. Okay. I do recommend getting the flu shot. And I have to tell you, I have no issues with vaccines. I have no issues with people who delay vaccines for their kids, if that's your choice. I do believe in protecting us from things that we know can kill us and harm us, to live to fight another day. The side effects from the vaccine versus death from the illness, we really do have to weigh that and make that decision. Is it worth it to not be protected from any virus this cold and flu season? And COVID season adding to it, So I think that it's worthwhile to be protected from at least influenza while we can. And it's funny, David, I've had some patients come to the clinic last month, and they were saying, hey, do you guys know if you guys are going to get COVID vaccines? Now, these are the same people that would refuse the flu vaccines, but they are willing to jump on that COVID-19 vaccine as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me at all. People, if you gotta, some people are injecting their veins with Lysol. You just.
Don't go there, not on this podcast. Don't go there on this podcast.
I have the cologne from Lysol. Isn't that bad? I'm just saying,
Hey, Shauna, could you? I know we talk about lifestyle between lifestyle differences between men and women. Could you speak to that? Because David was pointing at himself. In fact, just recently we were talking about drinking milk and the effects on the African American and Hispanic community. So if you could talk about that, and then just how, if there's a difference that you see between your male patients and your female patients.
I see a big difference between my married patients and my single patients.
We definitely gonna talk about that. So
we have this saying in the clinic and in the medical field that wives save lives. Okay, so married men, you're already you have one leg up on the rest of the population, because those nagging wives, they save lives. They will nag you to go and get your annual checkup. And that's the way that we catch diseases in their early state. Now, we have some single people out there, they don't have wives nagging them, and they wait and they wait and they wait with these symptoms that we could have addressed early on. By the time they come into the clinic or the hospital, they have a disease that's progressed a lot. I can say that there's a big difference in that. Now, the difference between men and women in healthcare, I think because we have extra parts, I think we're a little bit more in tune with our bodies and our symptoms, and we're a little bit, more inclined to go to the doctor and get something checked out if something's wrong. Whereas men, that part of your culture and genealogy is just, hey, we're gonna tough that out. No, that toe is purple, but it's okay. It'll turn back to its normal brown or pink color any day now. Now it's black and it's starting to stink, but I have faith that it's going to turn. I see that a lot in men. So there's a difference, but I have to say that married patients, they do better health-wise in my experience.
Hey, David, I've been to the hospital, just regular checkups and stuff. Since I've been married 10 years, I'm going to say I've been 40 times in the last 10 years. I think if I wasn't married to a medical provider, I probably would go about 5-10 times. But 40 times, that's probably pretty accurate.
I would say in the last 10 years, I'm probably about 20. I go once a year because I just have my mental clock that says, all right, if something's wrong, I need to know. And then I go another once a year. The second time I go is because I've been limping since I left the doctor the last time, and I'm tired of holding on to it. Let me just, hey, doc, should I be walking in circles? Because every time I start walking, this leg hurts and I favor it. So I just kind of, make turns all day long. So no, I'm gonna add that to our saying. So we got, I don't hang, I provide the string. We got wives save lives. We're gonna start some new trends coming up out of here. One of the topics I wanted to talk to you about is the whole concept of married men live longer. And I think you touched on it, but I think that's a good point that you make. As men, we don't go to the doctor. We're taught to be tough. We're taught to deal with it. It's not a big deal. Women are more in tune, as you said, with their bodies, and even something, it's got this little tingle in my ear. The tingle shouldn't be there. And a guy is like, well, I can hear out the other ear and I got stuff to do. A woman's like, I got stuff to do. And on my break, I'm gonna go to the doctor and I'm gonna look him in the eye and I'm gonna say, hey, I got a tingle in my ear, and kind of find out you got a tapeworm that had found its way to your upper body and you didn't dealt with it, where, we end up with brain cancer because we should have dealt with it 6 years ago. So we appreciate having the women in our lives. I'm one of them single people, but I figure I got you. So, when you tell him he needs to go, I'm like, I ain't got one of them either. So when he calls me complaining while he's getting it done, I'm making an appointment. So it filters around.
That's right. I got you, David.
One of the things that is true about you and your family, Shauna, is that you're multicultural. And so, and I've been to your house, we've had a lot of conversations about this, and I think how we deal with things in America and some of our habits are one thing versus how, Caribbean cultures and other cultures might deal with certain things. Do you see that being more prominent today? Do you see certain health habits or cleaning habits or things along those lines serving better in households that have different understandings of culture versus American culture?
Well, I can speak from my personal experience. I don't work in the community that has a lot of multi-ethnic Well, we have the Hispanic community, which they do things a little bit different. And I can't speak highly to that because I'm not Hispanic. I'm Jamaican by culture, but I'll speak on my personal experience. So yes, from a cultural perspective, we approach our whole lifestyle differently. We value time with family, and we believe in herbal remedies before we go seek out Western medicine. Jamaica is a third world country, and although they have good medical care in certain places, a lot of times before, 3, 4 decades ago, you had to take care of a lot of stuff on your own. So they're very well versed in herbal remedies and taking care of things, going back to nature and taking care of those things before they'll go and seek out Western medicine. As a matter of fact, in my own family, it doesn't matter what the symptom is. The first cure is going to be a cup of a specific tea, some kind of tea. You have a headache, you're going to drink this tea. You have back pain, you're going to drink this tea. And then they'll go into some other herbal remedies and some other things that you should be doing. And so that plays a big role in how we approach Western medicine, because Western medicine for us is always the last resort. And so I'm kind of a conundrum within my own family, because I'll give them a little medical advice, but I have to hold my tongue knowing that they're only going to take a grain of it because they're going to try all the herbal remedies first. And so I think that it's a good benefit because we try to fix things ourselves before we seek help. I don't know that a lot of Western households in the US do that, because I do in my clinic, I see a lot of people who have only been suffering for a few hours and they come in. They have a upset stomach for 6 hours, and then I'm seeing them, they didn't try anything at home. So it's kind of double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So we're talking about, I'm an American from the 818.
Mm-hmm.
I like steak and potatoes, right? I like chicken, and I like Cheetos. I like Coca-Cola, right? It is a culture shock that I'm like in this house. I'm drinking tea. I get sick. They want to throw a garlic, crunch up some garlic cloves. They want to give me ginseng. They want to spice up my foods. And so it really was a shock. It was really a shock. But, I could tell you what, I'm eating healthier today than I would if I was single, if I was going through that drive-through. I'm certainly eating healthier, but I could tell you, man, sometimes I'm not feeling well, and I might not even mention it because I don't want the cup full of garlic boiled down to its root, man. I'll just deal with the sickness, the illness, instead of drinking the garlic and the ginseng.
Caleb, you're such a good sport. He truly is a good sport, because he married into this culture, and he did not know what he was getting himself into. He's been an excellent sport about just dealing with some of the differences in both language and food and culture and traditions, all of it.
So I'm thinking about two things. One is my big Greek wedding, my big fat Greek wedding,
Mm-hmm.
where everything was Windex. You come in with the Windex, and that was the first cure. I'm also thinking about, I grew up in the Midwest. So whenever you came home with a sniffle, your mama went in the kitchen and grabbed the cod liver oil. Ooh. So, you just learned to, if you had a sniffle, you would let it run down your shirt, your mouth, your lips, everything else before you made that noise in the house, because she'd come, at you with the spoon.
Mm-hmm.
And so
we have some cod liver oil here.
I feel you to a degree, Caleb. The wonderful woman I'm dating, her mama's a nurse, and I'm kind of being inducted in. So tell David to do this and make sure he's doing that. And I'm like, man, and so when she calls me and says, hey, did you eat tonight? I just make up something. Oh yeah, I did. And it was good. It was healthy. I went through the chart. She's like, you lying, huh? Yep, sure am. She's like, I just want to make sure you're okay. I was like, I am okay. I'm fine. I'm taking care of myself for almost 50 years by myself. I'm good. But no, I think, Caleb, and to any other man that's listening, if you got a woman in your life that's giving you some health tips, one, she's being selfish. She wants you around. So that's a good thing. And then two, listen to her, because, we're hard-headed by nature. And just because you're strong and you can take it doesn't mean you have to. There's always there's home remedy or a health remedy or whatever it is that can help you out. So, yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. And I do agree, married men live longer. So, we'll see if I can just last, an X amount of time until, I feel like going down that path again. We'll see. I'll invite you guys either way. So you guys will know. So one of the things that, Caleb and I have talked about, just again, all of our professional life, we grew up in that mode where life's about making money, and to make money, you got to work, and to make more money, you got to work more, or at least work harder. And praise God, we're getting out of that mode. We don't have the 6, 7, 8 jobs anymore. But there's a balance, right? And so I'm a single father, and I'll admit it that on my best day of a single father, I'm still not a mom. And I have to throw hands up to any mother out there that's doing her thing. And as a mother, and you mentioned, dealing with your children is a lot harder sometimes than the PPE and everything else of dealing with that environment. So knowing that that's the case, how do you create a balance? How do you balance being a wife, a mother, a professional? How do you do that? What's your work-life balance look like?
It's a very fine line. It's part of the reason why I work part-time. Work is important. Making money is important, and putting food on the table to provide for my family is important. But thankfully, I'm in a career where I can work part-time and still make a good wage that I can have time to spend with my family, because my family ultimately is what's most important to me. My marriage, the well-being of my children, being able to take care of my own health. And I wouldn't compromise work to be able to do that. So, before I got into this profession, I did some research and I realized that it makes good money, and I don't have to work as hard in order to make a good living doing it. It's a job that I love. I'm not in it for the money, but it pays well that I don't have to do a 40-hour work week just to be able to make ends meet. And I'm very thankful and grateful for that. And Caleb being a wonderful partner is something that we sat down, we talked about and figured out what's the least amount of hours that I can work and we can still make ends meet comfortably. And he's been very supportive of that.
Shauna, I paid David to ask that question just to see if I could get some food.
That's a good plug, David.
Right. And David, you're talking to a Jamaican woman born in Jamaica, right? And you talking about only having one job. Shame on you, man.
I know.
That is a typical American, one job, man.
Did you just open your lips to call me a typical American, Mr. 818?
Typical American. I got one job too.
Okay. All right.
For 25 years, I had at least two, but now I got only one. I have a question. I have a question for Shauna. Are you okay sharing your route to be or your path to becoming a physician assistant?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. It's become a very popular career. I think Forbes ranked it in the top 10 growing professions in 2019 magazine that, it pays well. You get to serve population in very varied healthcare fields. Okay, so as a PA, your training is generalized. That means you get to do a rotation in everything. But you can specialize and end up making even more money straight out of school. So a lot of people are interested in PA, but I have to tell you that my path to becoming PA is a non-traditional one. I thought a long time ago that I wanted to be a dentist at one point. I wanted to be a forensic scientist at one point. I was an operating room technician for about 8 years, and I really loved the medical field, but I didn't want to become a physician because I didn't really enjoy their culture, and I didn't want to go to school for 16 years, to be honest. I didn't want to have to do a residency and then an internship and medical school. I thought it would take a long time. And so when I discovered the PA field, I was in the military on active duty, and the Army has a program for you to become a PA. It's called IPAP, and that's the route that I took. I got accepted to that program, and I was trained military. So that program is almost a 3-year program, and it condenses what you'd learn in 4 years of medical school and about 2 years of residency into just a 3-year program. So it's all condensed. And it was one of the best decisions that I made, because as a PA now, I've had 7 or 8 different PA jobs and 4 different specialties. Right now I have 2 different employers. So it's an excellent field. I'm very proud of that decision.
Jamaican woman, 7 or 8 jobs, multiple employers currently. Jamaican woman. Go ahead, Dave.
Man, you already got your kudos for the night. I don't know what you're trying to do. Actually, I do know what you're trying to do. Go ahead, man. It's cool. I'm not gonna block.
I see you. Yeah.
It's cool. All right. So obviously we launched this podcast during the middle of a home isolation COVID-19 situation. This won't be life forever. What we try not to do is stick with COVID. I don't want every episode to be about that, but it is what's current. And I think we're doing great on this so far. One of the questions I have, and we're just kind of segueing out of that a little bit, but not honestly, it has to do with it. I go to the grocery store every week. It's just my routine. I love to be able to cook for my kids. I love to be able to provide them with semi-nutritious meals that have color on the plate. At least 3 different colors is the way I go about it. And they're not losing any weight and they enjoy it. So it's all good. But I prefer to cook at home. If I'm not going to cook at home, I have a choice. I could go to a drive-through or I can have food delivered. Now, I was like, well, it makes more sense to go through a drive-through because I'm the only one grabbing my food versus some stranger delivering it to my house. But I read a report the other day that it's actually just the opposite. Have you heard anything about that? And during this time of, what's it called? I keep saying isolation. I don't mean to use that word. Self-quarantine. During this time of self-quarantine, what are your thoughts as far as, eating habits or how, if you're not going to cook at home, what's next?
So I would recommend that you pick from a restaurant that can provide you some fresh food. You want to go with something that's not deep fried. I mean, the self-isolation, self-quarantine is bad enough. We don't want to fill our systems up with a lot of unhealthy food. So pick from a restaurant where you can get the freshest food. But as far as home delivery or drive-through, to be honest with you, we've done both. And I didn't read the study that one was better than the other, but I have noticed that a lot of delivery drivers are the food comes delivered with a seal on it from the restaurant, so it hasn't been tampered with which I think is a good move. And we'll probably see that, indefinitely, even after we're out of this crisis. But I say that people, eat some of the stuff that you like. Treat yourself every now and then. Please don't just eat a bunch of salads or canned soup and vegetables, but try and eat healthy. The fresher that you can eat, the better it's going to be for you and your body. And if you do end up sick, you'll recover faster. That's my professional and personal advice.
Okay. All right. I respect that. Hopefully we don't get sued for this, Caleb. You're going to be listed first if we do. But I read somewhere, and this was before the COVID-19 situation, that those seals came about because too many people were complaining about drivers eating their food. And so they get a half a bag of fries from McDonald's or whatever the situation may be. So they started putting seals on everything. I've also noticed that when you do pull up to a drive-through, they have a separate line for food deliverers. And so, now, and they'll tell you, I've even been thinking about pulling the DoorDash. I'm here from DoorDash, pick up an order for David. Yeah, that's it right there. Let me get that. But,
I do want to mention one thing, David, though, as far as food goes and food prep and worrying about your food getting contaminated with COVID-19, we still have a higher chance of E. coli contamination or something else, salmonella, from our food. The virus is not surviving very long on food surfaces like that. And if you eat it and swallow it into your digestive system, you might get some digestive signs and symptoms of COVID-19, but the respiratory issues that's killing people, you're less likely to get that from food because someone who has COVID-19 that doesn't have any symptoms handled your food. As far as food safety goes, I think it's a very low risk of getting COVID-19 from your Carl's Jr.
Don't be putting my business out in the street like that. You don't know me. We're not that close. So the other piece, and it goes right along those same lines. I've been noticing a surge in the App Store and in Google Play for home-based exercise apps. My Instagram feed is full of, Tonal and what's the other one? The Mirror and all of these tools that people are really pushing for at-home exercising. What's your exercise regimen for being at home? I'm not putting you on blast. If you like, I don't have one. I just take a lot of steps, whatever. But what do you think?
You know what? I'm glad you asked that question. Okay, so I'm in the military. I have to run. I have to run. The government makes me run twice a year and times me. But I have been able for a long time to get away with not having to run very often in order to make my times, right? Since COVID-19, the self quarantine at home, I really hadn't worked out until this past week. I really hadn't had the time, just the stress, really hadn't worked out. I went for my first run in about 2.5 months. When was that, Caleb? Yesterday? Day before yesterday. I ran just over 2 miles. And I have to tell you, that's probably the closest I've gotten to a runner's high. Just getting out the house and just having some music and open road in front of me. I didn't get a runner's high, but it was as close as I'm going to get to one, just having that freedom to get some of that stress out. So it's been good. And then I tried to keep it up. I did another little run yesterday, and that's been my workout routine. So I think that I'm probably going to incorporate running or some cardio outside the house in nature 2 or 3 times, 4 times a week.
Okay.
Dave, let me share my routine. Week 1 of being self quarantine, man, I was doing push-ups, I was doing sit-ups. 8 weeks passed, and I put all that to rest. Today, I got on that treadmill, and I was huffing and puffing, man. I was huffing and puffing. I'm not in the shape that I used to be. I'm not walking as much as I would if I was going into the office. But I am, something that has changed is my diet has changed. I'm not into fast food. I'm not into drive-thrus as frequently as I would be. And so my diet has changed. Now I'm incorporating a more balanced diet, more fruits to my daily intake. And so I know that that's something that's different. But I had plans to, like a lot of people, to, I'm gonna get fit. By the summer, I'm gonna be ripped and I'm gonna be ready, right? But I'm 48 years old, and that reality hit week 2, and it hit today when I came off that treadmill, huffing and puffing, and I looked down. I had only ran like a mile and a quarter. I won't tell you my time, but it wasn't good.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna laugh. I'm not even gonna share a piece of that for me. Yeah, we're gonna leave it at that. So I think that what I will say is that we need to, as a people, and I don't mean people as in Black people or people as in the 3 of us. I mean, just me as a people group need to be mindful, similar to what we said in previous weeks, that our commute has shortened a lot for a lot of us. And even the process of being in an office or being in an environment where we're walking around throughout the day has changed. And it's easier to just stay in one place because we're supposed to be logged in or supposed to do whatever. And we can get sedentary real quick, and we need to change that. And there's no time like the present. So if you know that you've just been sitting around too much, that's something that you want to go ahead and take care of. So I like that.
I'm going to caveat that, David, real quick. There's a recent study in the New England Journal of Medicine, but please don't quote me on when it was published. It showed that you don't have to do 45 minutes to an hour of cardio workout to get great benefits for your heart and your body. You can do as little as 60 seconds a couple times a day, full on, just go full energy workout, some cardio or heavyweight lifting for 60 seconds a couple times a day, and you're going to get the same benefits as someone that's been working out for 45 minutes to an hour. So I encourage people, even if you're at whatever level of fitness that you are, if you can get up for a minute and work out twice a day, 3 times a day, do that, and it'll be better for you. You'll be better for it.
And you see that, it used to be the 7-minute workout and then the 6-minute workout. And we should get famous, Caleb. I think we got to get down to like 5 minutes now. But Shauna just said, all we got to do is 60 seconds 3 times a day.
1 minute workout.
So we're going to do a 1-minute workout. You just have to do it 3 times a day. We're going to sell it on YouTube with DVDs because we like it old school. We're not going to deliver it digital.
8 tracks, man.
8 tracks. There it is. There it is.
People listening in, they don't even know what an 8-track is, man.
They really don't. They don't. It comes right after 7-track and right before 9. That's what that is. That's what that is. So we're about out of time. You mentioned, Shauna, that runner's high.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a little something about that. And I think what people are going stir crazy right now because they're just tired of being cooped up. So that runner's high happens easier,
Mm-hmm.
right? So not to put anyone on the spot, but other than that, what's the last high you had? And I'm not talking about April 20th, right? I'm talking about, you rolled down the window and the sun hit you just right and that gave you what you needed. You heard a song, you saw something on TV. What's the last thing that you can recall, if you can recall, that just kind of stopped you in your tracks, made you take a deep breath, and you enjoyed that moment? Anybody got anything for that?
Ooh, that's a good one, David. I have COVID brain, so I'm trying to think of when the last time was. I know I could probably go back to my Jamaica trip, but that was 3 years ago. I feel like I've had something since then, but let's just go Jamaica. We had an excellent day over at the Blue Lagoon in Port Antonio on our last Jamaica trip. We took a boat out to like a little private island, had a whole beach to ourselves, just our small group, for probably 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours. The water crystal clear. It was just amazing just to see God's work and just feel at peace, and everything was just in perfect harmony. It was great. I think that's probably the last vivid time that comes to my memory. Yeah.
All right. Caleb, can you think of anything?
Probably somewhere on an island, somewhere on a beach, somewhere with a drink in my hand, listening to some music. Maybe it's reggae, maybe it's jazz, maybe it's some 90s R&B, man, and just hanging out and with no real agenda, just hanging out and waiting for the next thing to start, regardless of what it is, man. Shauna and I, we've traveled a lot. What came to mind initially was Italy. You can't catch me in Italy in the next 6 months because of COVID-19. But Italy, I'll go back to Italy for sure sometime in my lifetime if God willing, and spend some more time in Italy. There's some areas, some cities that we didn't have a chance to enjoy, but last trip to Italy was nice, and that was just 2 years ago.
All right. So to anyone listening or watching, this is there's no scripts here. We don't, we Caleb and I will talk about a brief list of subjects that we're going to want to talk about, but I don't even think he has them right now, as much as kind of a playlist that I'm looking at. So, sometimes we're going to hit up questions that are just, it's going to throw people, and not because we want to, make someone stumble, but, I'd rather keep this social and real than to say, here, Shauna, here's a list of questions so you could be well prepared for every answer. That's just not really what we want to do here. But you guys know I have my Instagram thing in the morning where I just kind of spread the word a little bit. And one of the things I've said on there quite often is that when I walk outside and the sun just hits me, it's kind of just God reminding me that he's in charge. I feel like it's my own personal ray of sunshine. And I know it's not just hitting me, but that's how it feels for me. The other morning, I woke up and opened my window, and the sun was just hitting it just right. And, my body instantly jumped by, a few degrees because I just felt that warmth. And it was one of those moments. And today I was doing daddy duty. I had to get up and tighten up Xavier's head. He wanted to fade up a little bit, and I had to twist up his locks and all of that. And I did a great job. I'm just going to say he looks great right about now. But so I left the house a little later than normal, and the normal morning smog had already burned off. So when I walked out the house, again, it was just that sunshine. And so when I feel that, it's just a stop and absorb moment. But I leave the house every day. right? So, and you do too, for the most part, at least, a few times a week. But the next time you go outside, just especially if the weather's right, just take a moment and see if you can go back to that Jamaica trip. See if you can go back to that. And it's not going to be the same. Where you live is not Jamaica. I get that, right? But just see how you feel. And I only say that because a lot of times we have to find appreciation in where we are and see all the beauty that's around us. And similar to you, Caleb, I'm dying for Italy. Whew, wrong way to put that. I really want to go to Italy. I had plans to be in Italy in August that I canceled. A little too soon. I'll wait. I'm no big deal. But where I am, there's a lot of beauty, and I just sometimes want to stop and receive it, no matter where we are. So,
hey, you mentioned runner's high, and so I was thinking of something like like a really big, like there's a lot of stuff that has gone well and that I celebrate. But I was thinking runner's high. By the way, I was in the military for 25 years, and I never ever had runner's high, and so I don't enjoy running at all. And I used to do it really well, and I didn't like any of those steps that I was taking, even when I was doing it well. And so when you mentioned runner's high, I was thinking of something really big. But there's a lot of things that are just going great in our lives, and we know that we are blessed. And just launching this podcast is one of the things that brings me to new heights. When I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking, who we're going to invite next week? If someone's going to be on it, will it just be you and I? What questions might we throw out? So I've been on a high. I don't know if it's quite runner's high level.
I think it is, honestly, and that's kind of where I was going for, just an appreciation of not even the little things, but what's made you pause. I mean, you guys have 2 children in the house, and so maybe they look at you a certain way. Or today I was horse playing with the boys, and they took off to run, and Preston turned one way, Xavier turned another, and they stepped on each other, and they both slammed into the ground hard. And it was that kind of hard that would have made Mom be like, oh my God, my babies are on the floor. And Dad just was like laughing, because I was on my way to the front door anyway. I didn't even turn around to see if they were okay. It wasn't until I opened the door and realized there was nothing there that I turned around, and they were like rolling over. Oh, and I was just like, man, y'all good? And they're like, yeah, we're good. And so, moments, you just take and grab those little things. As you said, Shauna, family is so important. And if we can't take those moments to just smell the flowers, no matter what brand or breed they are, we're missing something. There's a lot of benefit to us being in this environment. So we have run out of time. Unfortunately, this has been great. Shauna, I can't thank you enough. I thought this would be a good episode to have you on, and I wasn't wrong. Caleb, thank you for having the courage to ask your wife to join us. And this has been an amazing thing. So the other thing we do, Shauna, we just do a quick little closeout, whatever you want to say. The floor is yours.
Well, I'm just so honored that you guys asked me to be on this podcast. And like I said, I'm glad that I'm one of the early guests, so you can get all the kinks out the way. And then when you start hammering home those hard questions, I've missed that bullet. I dodged that. But I wish you and Caleb the best with this podcast and the message that you guys are spreading. I have been a witness to your friendship for about almost 11 years now. And I know a lot of great pearls come from your conversations. So I'm excited that you guys get this opportunity to share your voices and your wisdom with the rest of the internet in the world. So I wish you both the best of luck in this endeavor. And I'm so thankful to be on here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Beautiful words. Thank you so much. Caleb, what do you got?
Wow, man. On a podcast with my wife, man. Who would have thought it, man? Who would have thought it? All right. Unscripted, man. I'll close with this. My wife sometimes tells me, she reminds me of this. Take vitamins now or take medicine later. All right. And so for all the everyone that might be listening in, you have a choice. Take care of yourself. Treat your body as a temple. If you need some extra supplements, take them now, because if that temple start falling apart, medical providers are going to give you something prescribed. So that's what I'll close.
I love it. I love it. I don't even know if I have anything worthy of any words after that. What I will say is to everyone, remember, during this season, you have a choice. Whether you're a believer or not, when Noah was on the ark and it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, the ark docked at some point. And when the ark docked, nobody, opened the doors and ran out to see what's happening, right? They chilled for a while. They let the water settle. They sent out a dove and waited for it to come back. And when the dove didn't come back, they were like, okay. Or actually, the dove came back with a leaf, and they knew it was okay. But the world is trying to open it back up. And I know we're getting impatient, and we're feeling a little house burn, and we just want to get back out there. But there's no rush. Everything that you would want to go after today will be there tomorrow. And what's more important is that we stay the pace. We make sure we do what we have to do, so that, as Shauna mentioned earlier, that we have another day, that we can do what we need to do today. And even if it suffers some side effects, even if those side effects are, I'm just tired of being in the house, if that means next year that you actually are around to be able to make that choice because you were patient enough to wait it out, do that, because we're happy that you're able to watch us now, but we want you to be around for as long as you're supposed to be. And we don't want anyone cut short because you cut things short. So we'll leave you with that. We are the brothers from the 818. We only promise you real talk. We don't know how it's going to go, but we know what we're going to do. We thank you, Shauna, for being our special guest. You are our new on-site medical professional. We ever need to, hey, get Shauna. Let's ask her this real quick. Let's see what's going on. We will do that. But we'll have you back on, absolutely, as we do this a little more and have some more guests. We got lots of ideas and nothing but time to implement it. So you guys be blessed. You guys out there in internet land, thank you for tuning in. And as we said, we are brothers from the 818. We'll do this again. All right?
All right.
All right, everyone.
All right.